Hey everyone, welcome back to Cosmic Brew Espresso Shot. I downloaded this crazy ass episode I'm going to drop next week. It had to do with when Uranus was stopped in Gemini and we had the kind of the peak of eclipse season peaking, eclipse be eclipsing. Anyone who follows the news and follows astrology, you're not surprised, but damn, eclipse be eclipsing. And Gemini is news, by the way, and gossip and people talking. And communication, emails, crazy shit. And I'll be dropping that. And that is Cosmic Alarm Clock style. So I don't know what I'm doing with this, but I do know this is going to be business astrology. And I don't even think it's going to be like business astrology like other people do business astrology. Like you're a Virgo, so you should be detail oriented in your communication. Like business astrology is actually like forecasts, like business forecasts. So that's 2026, and I'm going to let it be 2026, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to bring in a bit of Cosmic Alarm Clock in there. And if you are someone who understands anything about business, I might have talked about Michael's Porter five forces, which is what every MBA had to study before like 2010. It's like the macro societal implications of what's happening affects business. That's why they have trend forecasters. And essentially that's what astrologers are in companies in other countries. People have astrologers on staff. That's basically what they do. It's not just looking up at the sky. But speaking of the sky, today we have another Mercury Cazimi. We have Mercury Cazimi, the sun in Virgo. And so as a Virgo with Mercury in Virgo, who talked about how she was changing up all of her stuff, and she announced all this stuff she shouldn't have announced when Mercury went retrograde. So that's what I did. It finally was a full-on conclusion. I announced the wrap-up of season 1 on my other podcast, Clear Signal, and what I'd be doing for season 2. And it's very Mercury and Virgo. It's like, we're going to do it this day at this time every 2 weeks. And this is what it's going to be. And it's going to be 8. And that fits this pattern of this and this and this. If you listen to that episode, it is Mercury and Virgo on crack meets Uranus and Gemini, which is me, I guess. So Mercury Cazimi the sun. This is a rare Cazimi because Mercury, as you know, is not only ruled by Virgo, but is at its home sign in Virgo, the only time that ever happens. And Virgo is about precision. It is now, summer is officially over where I live. It's fall. It's getting cold. And so it's time to get down to business. It's time to be like, what do you want to get done before the end of the year in your personal life, in your business? What do you want to seed for 2026 plans in terms of everything you're doing? And eclipse seasons are magnified because this entire eclipse season is sandwiched by Virgo, which I've talked about ad nauseum. And I love it because Virgo does not get enough love in the zodiac because it's usually these TikTok influencers and useless astrology that talks about how Virgo is like the critical person, the detail oriented, the anal retentive, and Virgo is an earth sign. It is about being embodied. It is digestion and assimilation and attunement and discernment. And the people watching pop culture astrology are not very discerning, right? They want affirmations. They want to be entertained. This isn't for them. So I don't use astrology for entertainment. I use it to flow in line with the natural rhythms of life. And astrology and the stars and definitely the sky and the rhythms of the planets is about as science as you can get, as it literally controls our body. And so when people try to separate science and spirituality, they are living in the past and they are going to be left behind. I'm not sure when that will be. Unfortunately, I'm Uranus on my ascendant, so I live 20 years in the future, but hopefully sooner than later. And Mercury Cazimi, the sun for you, is another time to be, thinking about where is your heart calling you and why is that important? Because Leo is ruled by the sun. The sun is the heart. We're talking astrology here, not human design. The sun is the heart. The sun is your vitality. Other people call it your purpose. I call it your vitality. And Leo is the heart. So this entire cycle is about vitality and heart, and what needs to be closed out so you can have more vitality and step into what is in your heart. that is what I will be bringing out in my eclipse readings. I'm going to drop this the morning of the 13th, the day of the Mercury Cazimi. Talk about a full stop shop. This is it, because the next time we have the Mercury Cazimi will be in November, and that's a different cycle. I think that's the Sag cycle. I won't be coming on here to talk about that. I'm not coming on here to talk about every little thing, at least in this version of the podcast, this type of container. That'll be in the future. And 2026, I'll let 2026 be 2026. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed my little summer splash. I will come back one more time to do my Uranus. I had to drop that. That will be my historics. That was just like a channeled like Uranus and Gemini historics. And that's going to be it. Because what are we going to talk about? 1941? I mean, there's stuff that happened. There's uprising, there's revolution, there's this or that. But because Uranus is like conjunct now with Pluto and Aquarius and all this other Aries energy, we're going to see revolution at a much bigger level than we ever saw in that time. And because, Gemini is about communication and telecommunication and the internet and like for 1941, like what? Like we can't even, I did a whole deep dive on Jupiter and Gemini, and I talked about all the telecommunication changes, and that we could do because Jupiter is a 12 to 13 year cycle. So I could look at the last 4 years historics, and I did that on this podcast. And I talked about all the last times that Jupiter was in Gemini and what that meant for society. Uranus, I can bring up a few things, but I don't want to. I don't want to bother. So that is going to be dropped sometime. And one final conclusion is that I also recorded something when Jupiter was, the Jupiter-Saturn square was exact for the third time in June. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. I did plenty of content on that here earlier. You can hear about that. And I recorded that for my other podcast and I never dropped it. So I'll drop it here. And I'll probably drop it by the end of September. And the reason for that is I see the end of September as the end of summer. And if you listen to that episode and you understand anything about the Jupiter-Saturn square and Cancer and what that means when the sun moves into Cancer and all that, then you'll know that that's going to be a business-focused episode because I did that for the last podcast. So enjoy the Mercury Cazimi the sun. I'm going to go out in the sun. I will see you on the next one. Oh, one spot left when I'm recording this in the show notes. Never going to come again. Take advantage. That is to honor the fact that on 8/8/2021, we had a new moon in Leo, the sun, and Uranus came above the horizon, and I started a hobby Instagram that turned into so much more, and people wanted me to do readings, and I offered $88 Eclipse readings the following year or something. I might have offered Lionsgate readings, something lame, something whatever, just silly little readings. I think it was like a Google Doc or something. I don't even know what the fuck it was, some random ass, some one pager I did in Canva, and I posted it in my stories. And so this is a throwback to honor that period before I go move forward. And then my full on evolutionary shift work and business work will be at a different level for obvious reasons. And that will be, coming soon. At the very least, I might just replace that sales page with that work for people who are interested and want to understand the evolutionary shifts that are happening for them right now and how to use that to build what they want to build in 2026. See you on the next one.